relationship with God. And thirdly, and finally, whenever we meet, His presence is there with us. Whenever we meet, He's there. When we come to church this morning, God is with us. God is here in His fullness of presence. Now there are other churches in the country that will be meeting at the same time as us, but they too have the fullness of God's presence because of His omniscient, or sorry, His omnipresent, should I say, His omnipresent nature. Now we often hear people say that they've double booked themselves. Maybe we've even done it ourselves in our diaries, or forgot to write something in our diaries, and we realise that we've committed to being in two places at the same time. Now, however we handle it, however we deal with it, however we try to work around it, the reality is that we can't do it. We can't be in two places at the same time. We have to let one down. We have to disappoint one. We have to say to one, I'm sorry, I've made a mistake, I can't do that. But God is not affected by that because of His omnipresent nature. So that when the church meets together, Christ is there. His Spirit is there with us, which is why when we meet and maybe we're singing, or maybe we're hearing the Word, maybe we're just hearing a testimony or something like that, we can sometimes feel that touch that God's speaking to me. God's doing something in my life at this time because He's here, because His presence is here, and we can feel it in our lives. Jamie, when he did the reading earlier, he said, This is for me. This spoke to me. This passage is very real for me. Why? Because God is with us, not just when we meet together, but He's with us all the while, that we can feel His presence, His undivided attention. Isn't it amazing that the same God who created the heavens and the earth, who flung the stars into space, wants to be with us, wants to be here with us today, wants to have a relationship with each one of us as individual people. That's the gospel. Often when I'm out night fishing, and I'm sitting there by the side of the river or the lake, particularly when the sky doesn't have a single cloud in it at all. And sometimes, and certainly when you get away from the urban areas, moving out into the countryside, you see some fantastic stars, spangled sort of sky scenarios in front of you at night. And I'll lie back in my chair and I'll look up, and the only two that or the three that I know, the Great Plough, the Little Plough, the Seven Sisters, but all of them, they all form patterns, don't they, for people that are into astronomy. But just looking up, and you see all those stars, these shooting stars as well, so those quite regularly just cross the sky and then they disappear. But just to look up and just to see the majesty and the magnificence of the heavens. And I think to myself, I always think to myself, the same God that put everything in its place is the same God that loves me. He's the same God that wants to be with me. He knows everything about me, but He still chooses to be with me. Sometimes people say, folks might like me, but if they knew everything about me, they wouldn't like me. God does know everything about us, yet He still chooses to want to be in that relationship with each and every one of us. The same God that did that is the same God that wants to be with us when we meet. The same God that wants to be with us as individuals. And He can, because of His omnipresent nature. Shall we pray?